Hi, I'm Roland Winbeckler, and this is cake decorating at CakeSuppliesPlus.com.
Okay, this time I'd like to show you how you might go about making some scrolls with your airbrush. You're going to have to get fairly close to your surface so that you can get an intense line. And then basically come around with it an S shape or a C shape. So let's come around with a kind of a laying down S shape. And then we can add on with more like C shape. So very easy way to make a nice little scroll. Now you can add to this, you can add more loops and so forth, but this is the idea, and you can make it as fancy or as simple as you want. If I wanted to fancy this up, maybe I would make the ends of these scroll lines a little larger, puff them out a little bit. Maybe I would do some small lines, as maybe small dots to embellish certain parts of the scroll. So that's a possibility. So there's all kinds of possibilities that you might do with something like this. Again, adding more little loops and scrolls can tend to make it a little bit fancier. So you can turn it into whatever you want it to be. Another possibility is to make some loops, and so you start with light pressure, light, and then heavier to the one side. Light, heavier, light, heavier, heavier. And like so, and then maybe come back and do with a light line, maybe a little figure 8 type loop. So you're kind of up, down, and then kind of like a figure 8. And you know, something like that could be a nice effect. So you could also maybe come over and do little loops over the top of each one of these previous loops. You know, almost anything you can think of can modify this and make it better, sometimes worse. You have to be careful where you're going with it. So if it looks good, it's right. It's probably good to practice like I'm doing here. Practice ahead of time before you actually put it on your cake, so you can get the design in your mind before you put it on your cake. But it is easy to go too far. Let's say I wanted to fill in some of these with something like a tiny idea of lace. So I'll go to every other one. Just kind of a little squiggly bit of lace here. Well, that might be okay. Maybe I'll do them all that way. But anything you can think of to make these different and stand out, and create a nice accent for your cake is certainly a nice way to handle it. And it can be a nice addition to your airbrush work. So again, let's try something else. I'll do another one over the top of this one. Might be getting carried away here, but I don't know, that's not so bad. Try to remember to move smoothly with your airbrush. If you try to, let me show you what happens if you try to go too slow. If I'm going to make that S shape, if I'm going to go real slow and try to do it carefully, I'm actually trying to make this a little bit jerky, but that can very easily happen if you're trying to go real slow, okay? But now if I speed it up a little bit, you see the difference? So get used to your airbrush, become accustomed to how it works. And what I'm using here is the Pegasus airbrush. It works very well. I can put that fine line, or if I wanted to shade a certain area, I could do that without a problem. To shade, you're getting back a little bit farther. So there's, you know, different things that you can do this way to accent your scrolls as well. Maybe I'll shade to the one side of this. Adds a little bit of shadow, a little bit of accent, so just like that. Anyway, it's a great way to accent your cakes. It's also wonderful for practice with your airbrush.
This is Roland Whitbeckler at CakeSuppliesPlus.com.